بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على عباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملت أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين. وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين. وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون. ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون. قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مركدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون. فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم. وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم. ولقد ضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لتمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نؤمره نكس في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وظللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات سورة المباركة الفاتحة sorry. Okay. It's good. Sorry. Take it easy. Is it? All right. محمد وآل محمد صلوات محمد گر زہرا کا لٹنے کی خبر تو نے سنائی تجھے دیکھ کے روتی ہے محرم میں خدائی 1400 برس بیتے 1400 برس بیتے سب کرتے ہیں شکوہ اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا تجھے دیکھ کے مر جائے نا تجھے دیکھ کے مر جائے نا سگرائے بیمار اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا ملنے کے لیے بائی کو بے چین بڑی ہے کب سے علی اکبر کی یہ راہوں میں کھڑی ہے بچھڑی ہے یہ مدت سے بچھڑی ہے یہ مدت سے اسے تو نہ نظر اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا گن گن کے جو سغرانے یہ دن ہائے گزارے زندہ ہے تو اکبر کے وعدوں کے سہارے دن رات تڑپتی ہے دن رات تڑپتی ہے اسے اور نہ تڑپا اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا بھیا کی جدائی میں پریشان رہتی ہر روز یہ نانا کو
رو رو کے ہے کہتی اکبر نہ ملا نانا اکبر نہ ملا نانا میں مر جاؤں گی تنہا اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا بہنوں کا تو بھائیوں سے رشتہ ہی عجب ہے تم بھول گئے مجھ کو یہ کیسا ہی غضب ہے اس آس پہ زندہ ہوں اس آس پہ زندہ ہوں دیکھوں تیرا صحرا اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا تجھے دیکھ کے مر جائے نا تجھے دیکھ کے مر جائے نا بیمار ہے سورا اے چاند محرم کے تو بدلی میں چلا جا سورۃ المبارک الفاتحہ الرحمن الرحیم اللہ رب العالمین اوپس
الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والجنة للموحدين والنار للملحدين ثم الصلاة والسلام على طالب الحق والهادي إليه نبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم مصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين صلى الله وسلم عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله صلى الله وسلم عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله غريب مذلوم كربلاء يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما قال مولانا أمير المؤمنين سلام الله عليه الناس نيام فإذا ماتوا انتبهوا فضل الله سيد الشهداء عليه السلام على الصلاة. Of the profound statements that we find in the Islamic religious corpus attributed to our master Maulana Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salamullah alayh, Allah
is the statement in which the master of the monotheists addresses the people and talks about the state of the human being. He says, "An-nasu niyamun." The people are sleeping. فَإِذَا مَاتُوا انْتَبَهُوا. And when they die, they will awaken from this sleep and slumber that they have been afflicted with. For Amir al-Mu'mineen Salamullah alayhi, when speaking about the general straight state of the human being, attributes a ghafla and negligence of sleep for the human being in general. For we find that when we look at the life of the human being, we see that certain characteristics are found within this particular being when he inhabits the earth, which is why you see Amir al-Mu'mineen very eloquently and in a very profound and deep statement attributes this sleep and negligence towards the human being. But when we analyze this particular statement of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, we see that one of the characteristics of the person who is sleeping is that he is negligent of everything that happens around him. You could be sleeping right now, somebody would be eating next to you, talking next to you. Many things that occur in the world, in the news, in your own household, outside your household. But while you are in this state of sleep and negligence, you are unaware of those things that occur around you. The human being, despite being conscious and awake on this particular earth, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam attributes this sleep and slumber towards the human being. For we find in a beautiful tradition from Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa Allah. One day the Prophet of God is inhabiting and traveling a particular land with his ashab and companions. Now they come across a very barren and desolate, dilapidated and empty land. As they are passing through with the companions, the Prophet of God says, "Gather some things together in order for us to make a fire." They say, "Ya Rasulullah, there's not many things around, there's not a lot of vegetation, there's not a lot of inhabitants around that we can gather these things together and make fire." Rasulullah sends them on this mission. Slowly but surely, one by one, they bring one or two things each, gather them together, and then lo and behold, a great fire is started and the Muslimin can use this for their usage. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa then addresses his companions and says, "Hakada tajma'u dhunub." This is the way in which sins gather. When a person sees that he's doing something in his eyes that is very small, lo and behold, I tell one lie one day. Lo and behold, I look at something haram one day, something just for a split second. But when these things repeatedly are accumulated in the life of the human being, a great fire is found and darkness and dhulumat inhabit the soul of the human being. For we find many of us are negligent in this life, despite being conscious, unaware of the things that are waiting for us after we awaken from this temporary slumber that Allah Azza wa Jal has tested us with. For we find that the first thing that we see when analyzing the state of the human being is that many of us, without being conscious of the actions and having purpose and irada and will behind the things that we do, are going through life unaware of those things that will wait for us after we awaken from this slumber. This is the first thing that we find from the kalam of Amir al-Mu'mineen Salamullah alayhi. The second thing is that when we analyze the state of the one that is sleeping, I could be sleeping right now and in my mind, I am the King of England. Everything is within my hand. I have riches, I have wealth, I have servants, I have property, I have land, I have many children, I have strength, I have armies. I have everything in my mind. When I awaken from this sleep, I find that I have nothing. Such is the state of the human being that Amir al-Mu'mineen attributes to them. That he says, you are delusional thinking that you amass all of these things in the dunya. You may have land stretching from the east to the west and armies under your control never seen before in the history of the human being. However, when you go into this grave and awaken from this sleep and slumber, nothing will come with you. For many a time, as we are conscious and walking around the dunya, we don't even have to be in the state of being asleep to be afflicted with this ghafla and negligence in our life. And a tradition mentioned in the books of history, just to illustrate how delusional the human being is. is from the time of Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi, one of the governors of the Abbasids that is found within the books of history, was one day walking through the marketplace. Now, one of the characteristics of Hajjaj is that he was somebody that was very bloodthirsty, a vicious human being. If you look in the books of history, this man would slaughter people within the masajid. He would go in the mosques and begin ordering his soldiers to behead people, known with a fierce reputation amongst the people. One day, Hajjaj is walking through the marketplace. He sees, unable to be seen by the people, he sees a man who is selling milk. And this man is speaking to himself. He says, I'm going to sell this milk today, and after that, I'm going to buy a particular animal. Then I'm going to take that animal, use the milk from that animal, and buy more livestock. And slowly but surely, I'm going to build my wealth, and then I'm going to go to the house of Hajjaj. Who's listening to this? Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. He's walking through the marketplace, just to illustrate how delusional the human being can be. He's speaking about Hajjaj, and then he says, after I gain this prestige and position and all of this wealth in my life, I'm going to go to the house of Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi and ask for his daughter's hand in marriage. And after I gain this position, if she disobeys me in this marriage, I'm going to kick her so hard that I will break her ribs. As soon as he's saying this, delusional, dreaming in his mind, as the state is of many human beings, Hajjaj hears the statement of this person. As he says this, as he's trying to illustrate his dreams, because he's in ecstasy of the future that he's envisioning, he kicks the air and ends up kicking the milk that he has. As he kicks the milk, it spills on the ground. Hajjaj then orders his soldiers to capture this man and give him 100 lashes. Says, what sin have I done? Says, did you not say about the kick that you would give my daughter that would break her ribs? Because you thought about harming my daughter and this delusion of yours, how dare you speak about my family in this way? You are then going to have 100 lashes given to you. Amirul Mu'mineen in this statement speaks about the status of the human being. Many of us, while living in the dunya, have the hopes which are unrealistic. Allah Azza wa Jal has provided us with a system. He's provided us the tools and strength to gain wealth, to gain position in a good way, and allowing us to benefit and grow spiritually. However, many of us become drowned within this dunya, and these delusional hopes lead to us having a bad end in the dunya and the akhirah. For Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, "An-nasu niyamun," people are sleeping. فَإِذَا مَاتُوا انْتَبَهُوا, when they die, they awaken from this slumber. The third thing that we find mentioned when analyzing this particular statement of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam is that sometimes if a dream is very good, I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming about something very good, it's very difficult for the human being to wake up. For example, if one of your family members wakes you up, the alarm clock wakes you up, you think, I wish I could have remained sleeping. That dream was very good for me. However, if you have a bad dream and a nightmare, you wish to wake up quickly. Such is the state of the believer in the dunya. For the traditions narrate, ad-dunya sijnul mu'min. The world is the prison of the mu'min. And ad-dunya jannatul kafir. The dunya is the paradise of the disbeliever. Which is why we find that many a time we see the human being afflicted with trials and tribulations in this life. For one of the traditions of Allah Azza wa Jal is to try the believer as his faith increases. Very briefly, before we move on to the musibah, there's a tradition mentioned about one of the kings that would inhabit the earth of Allah Azza wa Jal. This man, he was rich, he had a lot of money, servants underneath him. However, he was someone that was despotic. He was an oppressor. He was somebody that was against Allah Azza wa Jal. He didn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This king was afflicted with a particular malady. He was afflicted with an illness, and he gathered all of the best medical doctors and viziers of that time to gather and cure his illness. They said, "Oh, Your Highness, unfortunately, the illness that you're afflicted with can only be cured in this day and age with a particular fish. Something within that fish is used to create medicine, and we can then use that particular those components to bring them together and cure your malady." He says, "Go out towards the sea and try and find that particular fish. At that moment in time, they say, "Oh, Your Highness, the season for that fish to come to this area that we inhabit is not at this particular time of year." He says, still sends them. Allah Azza wa Jal orders these fish to be raised up from the ocean and come forward. And he is able to be cured. Some time passes, and there is somebody who is a monotheist and a strong believer in Allah Azza wa Jal. He's obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is afflicted with the same illness. However, he's lucky. The time that he's afflicted with this illness is the time that the fish are supposed to be in season. However, Allah Azza wa Jal orders these fish to descend down and go down to the bottom of the ocean. Now, when analyzing this, the traditions ask, what was the hikmah and wisdom behind this? Why is it that somebody who is against you is cured, and the one who believes in you, you have made him afflicted and put him through trials and tribulations, struggling with this illness? The response that we find is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a tradition that he places in this particular life. He rewards everybody, whether they are kafir or Muslim. If you do something good, وَمَن يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَى. If you do something the size of an atom that is good, Allah Azza wa Jal is adil. He is just. However, the difference is the one who doesn't believe in him will be rewarded in this dunya. This king had some things which were good for him. He did some things which Allah Azza wa Jal liked. Instead of rewarding him in the akhirah and in the hereafter, he allowed him to be cured of this illness and saved him from this suffering in the dunya. In the same way, this mu'min may have committed some transgressions against Allah Azza wa Jal, gone against the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and therefore in order to cleanse him and purify him in the dunya, he then allows him to go through this suffering prior to his death in order for him to meet his Lord in a pure way. For we find that even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may make us struggle in this dunya, one of the ways that he purifies us and cleanses us is by putting us through these trials and masa'ib in this dunya. The fourth thing that we find in this tradition is when somebody is sleeping, there are different levels of sleep and slumber. Some people sleep very deeply. Other people sleep a very light sleep. If somebody walks in the room or they hear a small noise, they wake up. The same status of the human. Sometimes I am in a deep state of ghafla and negligence. I am engrossed and drowning in the dunya. I don't think about religion and Allah Azza wa Jal any time in my life. Other people have moments where they are negligent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The case of the Muslim Ummah at the time of Yazid is that this negligence had become so vast that years had passed and people who were illegitimate of their position of holding the Khilafah had become the rulers of the Muslims. Therefore, Sayyid al-Shuhada salamullah alayhi, in order to raise people up from this negligence, set out towards Kufa and was slaughtered in Karbala to show the people that this event needed to occur in order to raise up the people from this negligence and the sleep that they have. This is one of the reasons that Hussein salamullah alayhi, alongside his children, alongside his sisters, alongside his family, alongside his sons, alongside all of his ashab, took this divine journey in order to raise the religion of Islam out of this sleep that Amirul Mu'mineen attributes to the human being. For we find in the traditions that when the month of Muharram would arrive, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt would have severe sadness on their faces. And the traditions mention that the Imam would speak to his companion, the son of Shabib, and say, if you wish to cry upon anything, cry upon my grandfather Abu Abdullah. He would say, O son of Shabib, if you wish to cry upon anything, cry upon my grandfather Abu Abdullah, for know that he was slaughtered in the way an animal is slaughtered. O son of Shabib, the son of Zahra, was slaughtered on that day. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam would mention At the final moments of his father, Imam as-Sajjad, he would say, I would be hugging the chest of my father, Imam as-Sajjad, while he lay on his deathbed. He would say, Oh Baqir, I have two requests at this time. Lie my body on the ground and remove yourself from my chest. I would say, Oh my father, why do you ask me to do these things? He would say, I remember the last moments of my father, Abba Abdullah. For how can I lie on a comfortable bed when the body of Hussein would lie on the plains of Karbala? And how can I have my son Baqir holding my chest and comforting me when the chest of Hussein was mounted by Shimr ibn Dhil Jawshan? Di'bal al-Khuzai would come to Imam al-Rida in these nights and say, Oh son of Rasulullah, allow me to recite poetry for your grandfather, Abba Abdullah. He would begin and say, I know of the one that is buried in Najaf, and the ones that are buried in Karbala, and the one who is buried in Kadhimiya and Baghdad. Imam al-Rida would come forward and say, and remember the one who is buried in Tus. He would say, Ibn Rasulullah, I know about all of your grandfathers. Who is the one who will be buried towards Tus? He would say, a time will come when your master Imam al-Rida will be poisoned and killed, and I will be buried in this land. Someone would rush into the gathering and say, Ya ibn Rasulullah, do not talk of your martyrdom, for upon hearing this, one of your sisters has fainted and fallen. I say, O sisters of Imam al-Rida, you only heard about the martyrdom of your brother, and you were unable to bear this and fell unconscious. Come to Karbala and see Zainab al-Kubra, for she stands and sees the headless body of Hussein without ghusl and kafan on the land of Karbala. لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. الله اللهم ارزقنا زيارة الحسين وفي الآخرة شفاعة الحسين يا رب الحسين بحق الحسين. اشفي صدر الحسين بأمور الحجة. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات. يا حسين سعيد.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. सुगरा को रुलाता है ये चांद मुहर्रम का, सुगरा को रुलाता है ये चांद मुहर्रम का, सुगरा को रुलाता है ये चांद मुहर्रम का, सुगरा को रुलाता है ये चांद मुहर्रम का। हम सूरत ज़हरा से भाई के बिछड़ने की, खातूने कयामत के घर बार उजड़ने की, घर बार उजड़ने की, روداد سناتا ہے یہ چاند محرم کا، سغرا کو رلاتا ہے یہ چاند محرم کا، سغرا کو رلاتا ہے یہ چاند کا۔ کاٹا ہے گلا لوگوں سے روز کے پیاسے کا، پامال ہوا لاشا احمد کے نواسے کا، احمد کے نواسے کا، ہر ایک کو بتاتا ہے یہ چاند محرم کا، سغرا کو رلاتا ہے یہ چاند محرم کا، سغرا کو رلاتا ہے یہ چاند کا، تصویر دکھاتا ہے احمد کی جوانی کی، ہر شخص کو دنیا میں کربل کی کہانی کی، کربل کی کہانی کی تفسیر بتاتا ہے یہ چاند محرم کا، سغرا کو رلاتا ہے یہ چاند محرم کا، سغرا کو رلاتا ہے یہ چاند کا۔ کربل کی زیارت کو جو آنکھ تڑپتی تھی، شبیر تیرے غم میں جو آنکھ برستی تھی، جو آنکھ برستی تھی، اس آنکھ کو پاتا ہے یہ چاند محرم کا، سغرا کو رلاتا ہے یہ چاند محرم کا، سغرا کو رلاتا ہے یہ چاند محرم کا، سغرا کو رلاتا ہے یہ چاند محرم کا، جو عرض کربلا ہے ہر عرض سے سوا ہے، اس خاک کربلا میں شے کا لہو ملا ہے، ہر لا دوا مرض کی یہ خاک ہی دوا ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، یا رب کے زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي صاحب العصر والزمان سيدي الأمان الأمان، عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله تعالى مخرجه وظهوره وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم صل على محمد بمحمد. Assalamu alaikum. Could you please recite Surah Fatiha for brother Marhum Amir Ali Maulidina Nazma Bai Panjwani, and all the marhumeens. Al-Fatiha.
Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Salawat. How much? Today's sponsor were the family of Marhum Amir Molidina. And yeah, Surah Fatiha for Marhum Amir Molidina and all the Marhumin, including Marhum Nazma Bai Panjwani. We still don't have confirmation as yet. They are at the council trying to get the documentation. Cover is ready, we are all ready. As soon as we get the confirmation, then message will go out. Namaz Mayyat likely to be at 2:30 p.m. at All Hyderi, followed by burial here around 3:15, 3:30. That's the information I have at the moment, but as soon as the documents have been received, then message of burial will go out on various groups. Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Salawat. Just to remind everybody that anyone who wishes to sponsor a Majlis, then the program administrator, he's at home, Brother Shabi Suleiman, he takes all the orders and for the tabarruk and everything, so please contact him. For daily running of the program here, we have our Mukhi. Where is our Mukhi? Our Mukhi for Janatul Firdous. I have just promoted him. Navshat Chattu, he is the Mukhi of Janatul Firdous. He runs the program and the timing. So anything on that, you speak to him. Then we have Brother Rajab Ali Alidina. He is the assistant Mukhi. He is in charge of Tabarruk and troubleshooter. If anything happens, it's there. And I'm now redundant because I won't be coming all the time, but whenever I can, it takes 2 hours to come from the south. So today, the excuse was good because of the funeral. Again, please bring a hat. My hat is in my bag. An umbrella, just in case it rains, and a chair. And Mominin, you're requested. I will let you know in advance if there is a funeral clashing with our Majlis. There is a funeral just now at 12, right in that corner as we turn on this side. So there will be lots of cars. So we'll try and finish now, and you can then go. If I know that there is funeral on the other side, sometimes you know our other colored gentlemen, when they have their funeral, about 100, 200 cars come in and you'll be stuck. So we'll let you know in advance if that is. Also in that corner, as you come into Janatul Firdous, that path, please do not park at least 5 car length this side or 5 car length that side. Unless you are Brother Ali Taki, then you're allowed. But yeah, do not park car on either side, 5 here, 5, because it's a weekdays. Weekend, it's okay because you have big vans and memorial people as well as funeral cars cannot turn on that corner. And if you see anybody, do tell them, please do not park. Anything else, you can contact me if you need any further than Abu Mukhi of Janatul Firdaus. You contact him. Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Salawat. Can you also recite 5 times Amma Yujibul for all the Maris all together, please? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma Yujibul Mustarra Iza Daha Huwa Yakshifu Su. Amma Yujibul Mustarra Iza Daha Huwa Yakshifu Su. Amma Yujibul Mustarra Iza Daha Huwa Yakshifu Su. Amma Yujibul Mustarra Iza Daha Huwa Yakshifu Su.